Rise and shine, liberty-loving patriots. KrisAnne Hall here with the KrisAnne Hall Show. Welcome, welcome, welcome. You can find out more about me at KrisAnneHall.com, KrisAnnehall.com. That makes my husband so happy that I'm remembering to tell you to go to my website and to learn more things. I have lots of writing, lots of things going on the website, and we are about to release our new book. So excited about it. Sovereign Duty. You're sick and tired of the federal government. You're sick and tired of the power grab. You're sick and tired of feeling like you're a slave. Well, I have given you the plan. And the plan is the plan of the framers of this nation. And without sovereignty, you have no liberty. But we have a very special guest because I am here at Camp Constitution in Rindge, New Hampshire. And my special guest is Reverend Kraft.
Reverend Stevie Kraft.
And, you know, Reverend, this is not our first meeting.
I know.
Isn't it funny how God works? He brings us together again. Reverend Kraft and I spoke on a ferry boat.
That's right.
Off the shore of Long Island, right?
No, around Manhattan Island.
Manhattan Island.
On the East River.
I got to speak that day as we were parked outside the Statue of Liberty.
Correct.
Oh, that was such an exciting trip.
Yes.
That was such an exciting trip.
Yes.
Here we are today, but I hear that you are a regular here at this Constitution
This is my
camp.
5th year, KrisAnne. I've been speaking here with Brother Hal since 2010.
How did you match up with Hal? I mean, you guys are, really, seriously.
Brother Hal is my brother from another mother. We go back a ways, but the Lord, as you say, the Lord has a way of bringing kindred spirits together. Mm-hmm. And I believe with all my heart that it is so important, especially in this political correct so-called time that we live now, that we show a true representation of brothers and sisters who love God and love their nation across all ethnic boundaries.
Yes, because we're living in an administration and a political climate that all they want to do is divide us.
Correct.
We have a spirit. We share a spirit, the spirit of liberty.
Exactly.
And it doesn't matter. You know, for me, I want you to be a Christian. I want you to know Christ. I want you to be in heaven with me. But you know what? Let's be brothers in liberty as well, because without liberty, there is no way to have the understanding of Christ.
Exactly. When I'm on the preaching circuit, I tell people the Lord will always add and multiply. The enemy of our souls, Satan, will always subtract and divide. In our Pledge of Allegiance, as you well know, KrisAnne, it states, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the united, not divided, a United States of America, and to the republic, not democracy, for which it stands, one nation, not 50 nations, one nation, under God, indivisible, with what? Liberty and what else? Justice for how many people? Everybody, for all. We are losing that conviction. And I am so honored each year. I look forward to the second week in July every year to be a part of Camp Constitution. And as my brother from another mother would say to you, we have to trust God to take this vision to the next level, which means to take it nationally. I pray about that consistently.
You know, the interesting thing about the miracle of who we are is that we are a union of 50 separate countries who come together under the umbrella of liberty. The sovereignty of our states is so very, very important to who we are. Otherwise, we're just a nation ruled by federal government. And the very important fundamental understanding here that we have is that as a nation of 50 sovereignties, We are united under this Constitution, understanding that all men are created equal and endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, among these life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Yes, I know that's the Declaration of Independence, but that's what first united us. That's the very spirit of who we are. And we have got to get that out nationally, that understanding that no, we don't have to be divided by how we look or where we come from. Thomas Paine said this. He had remarked that the strength that they had was that we were from all over the globe. We weren't just all born and raised in the British colonies, but we were from all over the globe. He said it's not in numbers that we gather on our strength, but in unity.
Yes.
And he said, we must have a religious liberty in this country because it's the only way to really show the true kindness and love of Christ.
Exactly. The scriptures are very clear on that issue of unity. The Bible teaches us that where unity flows, there is where the blessings of the Lord is. The enemy has come in with this whole ideology of hyphenated Americans.
Right.
And the moment you put that hyphen in there, you automatically break the spirit of unity, which is the spirit of blessing. I tell people all the time when people say, oh, you're an African American, and I say, hold up, stop. How can I be an African American when I was born in America? No, I am an American with an African ancestry. You have it backwards. You have it twisted. I am not an African that happened to immigrate to America. I am an American, and my forefathers may have come from Africa. Most people, black Americans, if you ask them, oh, you're an African American? Yes, I'm an African American. Well, where at in Africa did you come from?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you see their eyes gloss over. I've talked to black Americans that actually believe that Africa is a country. No, I'm serious. I am serious. Rather than a continent with many different countries. One time I remember, KrisAnne, I said to someone, if I have a light complexion, if I'm white, and I'm born in Johannesburg, South African, what am I? And they didn't really know where I was going with that. I says I would be an African American.
Right. I have friends from South Africa who are white, who are African American.
Thank you.
And so it's the easiest way to sow the seeds of division.
Thank you.
Is what we see, and it makes us superficial as people. Because then I can look at you and think, he's different, so I don't need to know his heart. And I don't need to know his soul.
Exactly.
But when we were colonists here in the New World, in the America, when they declared independence from Great Britain, it was a source of pride, Pastor, to be called an American.
Yes.
I am not British. I am no longer from Holland. I am no longer from Spain. I left that tyranny behind. I am now American, and I am going to live and fight for liberty for myself and for my children.
Yes.
What happened to that, Pastor?
We gave it up. Again, it's a spiritual principle, Chris. The Bible says that God gave us the gift of liberty. But the church, I said this in my presentation this morning in America's Godly Heritage, the church went to sleep spiritually. God created 3 institutions. He created the family first, then he created the civil government, and then he created the church. And he created the church to be the moral and spiritual conscience of the nation. But the church went to sleep, and while the church was asleep, Jesus gave a parable entitled The Wheat and the Tares. Satan sowed tares in among the wheat and went his way, and the tares looked identical to the wheat. And what has happened now, you have false ministers and you have false churches that are now saying, oh, I'm as much a Christian as you are, and yet I believe differently than you. I believe in same-sex marriage. I believe in large uncontrolled. I believe in different things than you do, and I'm a Christian.
Killing babies is okay. That's fine.
Oh yes, oh yes. There's organizations called Religious Coalition for Reproductive Rights. But I always thought if you had reproductive rights, you had the right to reproduce.
Right. Well, Pastor, I am oftentimes, I do teach religious liberty in the churches, and I'm oftentimes not welcome in many churches because I speak very boldly on this. The pastors who are supposed to be the shepherds of their flock have fallen out of love with their flock, and they're more willing to lie to them for tithe money, for government money, for whatever money that they can get to build a church based on the idolatry of money than to teach the full teachings of God. Ezekiel said that, hey, watchmen, I'm giving you the charge. You have to teach the wicked of their wickedness. If you fail to teach them, they'll perish, but their blood will be on your hands.
Exactly.
We have pastors that are more in love with money and power than they are with the wisdom and love of God, and more in love with money and power than they are with the souls of their congregation. And they're willing to give up the wisdom of God. They no longer fear God, and they're willing to give up their souls.
Exactly. That's exactly what has happened. And being an ordained minister myself, I'm ordained with the American Baptist churches.
Well, wait, hold on to that thought. We're going to have to come back after this break. Hey, don't miss this. This is great.
The KrisAnne Hall Show. She's Liberty's lobbyist.
Welcome back to the KrisAnne Hall Show. My very special, beloved guest, Reverend Kraft, who is come back in my life after a little brief stint. We spoke together off of Manhattan, and I'm very excited to be here with you again. And we're talking about, and this is what I've always said, the fate of this nation will fall at the feet of our churches. Because as Christians, Pastor, you know that we believe that liberty is a gift from God.
Yes.
And we know as Christians we will be held accountable for those gifts when we stand before God. The parable of the talents teaches us that.
Exactly.
And if we really believe that liberty is a gift from God, and we really know that we'll stand before God one day, then we are going to have a day of great weeping.
Exactly.
A day of great weeping when God says,
I never knew you. I never knew you.
Or wicked, slothful servant.
Exactly. Take the talent from him and give it to the faithful one with 5 talents, and cast the slothful, indolent servant into outer darkness, where there'll be weeping and gnashing of teeth. See, what has happened, you hit on it. Most so-called shepherds have given in to the temptation of what I call nickels and noses. Nickels in the collection basket and noses in the pews.
Awesome.
And they have gotten caught up in that due to the fact that they are building their own kingdoms and their own empires rather than building the kingdom of God. And as a result, now Satan has bound them. He's used Johnson's amendment with the tax 501c3 and other things. But now, rather than them repenting and going back and doing the first works and saying, Lord, I was wrong. I have sinned against heaven and before God. Forgive me and let me go back and do this thing your way, not my way. But what has happened is I have found as an ordained minister that reaching churches and reaching pastors in particular is much harder than just taking this true message to the lay people. Mm-hmm. They don't want to these.
No.
They don't want to hear it.
They've turned themselves over stony hearts.
Yes.
And they have, I just pray they haven't become reprobate, that there is some hope for them. My husband is the pastor of our church, as you know. And for a long time, he painted on the back of his truck window, because I'm a Christian, I can't be a Democrat. How can you be assigned to a party that believes in the murder of babies? How can you do that? As a Christian, how can you elect people who make it their goal to do those types of things? And these are the things as Christians that we need to understand. We have a duty to God, and voting is the minimum duty.
The minimum.
Do you know, I read a statistic, Pastor, that said only 40% of the people who consider themselves church-going Christians, now these are the ones that consider themselves in the pew every Sunday, only 40% are registered to vote.
Yeah, I just recently became involved in a ministry called Salt and Light, the Salt and Light Council with Dran Reese. You may know her. And I've been trained by her to now begin to take that ministry, which is trying to bring back biblical principles back into the churches. And I've just gotten set up with her. And one of my biggest challenges, because she wants me to take this message into the inner city churches. And one of the biggest challenges that I'm going to have, I know, is to talking to black preachers and black Christians about how can they be Sunday, Tuesday Christians. And what I mean by that is they love God on Sunday but vote Democrat on Tuesday, and they do not see they don't see something that's incongruent against that. They don't see that there is a contradictory matter. How can I be, number one, a Christian and say I love Jesus Christ and his word, while at the same time holding forth and embracing a party platform that totally negates everything that they claim to believe on Sunday?
Yeah, well, this is a problem that we have even in the Republican Party as well, because we elect people who say one thing and do another.
Exactly.
So where the Sunday, Tuesday Christians in the black churches may exist in the Democratic Party, our politicians in the Republican Party are the Sunday, Tuesday.
Exactly.
They profess to be great Christians, and they hold their Christianity out as a shield, and then trade our children for slavery, in debt, and in lies and all of these other things. Now they're fighting for amnesty. All of this other stuff is just crazy. Pastor, thank you so much for being a guest on my show today.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me.
I'm just so blessed to have you back again.
God bless you.
We want to encourage you in what you're doing, and thank you for being part of Salt and Life and being a missionary to the black Americans in this country.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Chris. God bless
God bless you.
The KrisAnne Hall Show. She's Liberty's lobbyist.
Welcome back to the KrisAnne Hall Show. So excited to be having a week's worth of guests. I mean, it's just crazy. I go so long where all you guys do is just hear me ramble on and on and on and on. And now I'm in Rindge, New Hampshire at Camp Constitution, and I thought, hey, we've got an opportunity to do some interviews with some really, really great people. And so now I have 3 young people with me again. I have Kristen, Brad, and Katie. I should know that. My daughter's name is Katie. I shouldn't be forgetting that. And they are representative of our 20-something crowd here today. I'm very excited to have them. Everybody say hello.
Hi.
All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to start with Kristen. Kristen, go ahead, introduce yourself. Tell us where you've come from and how old you are.
My name is Kristen. I live in Hollis, New Hampshire. I've lived in the New England area my whole life, and I've kind of grown up in a pretty politically active family.
Awesome.
So I've been exposed to it a lot, and camp is great. For meeting.
How old are you?
I'm 22.
All right, awesome. How far is Hollis from here?
It's only like 35 minutes. It's
well, you're one of the shorter drives. All right, Brad, tell us where you've come from, how old you are, and that sort of thing.
I'm 21 years old, and I'm from Richmond, Virginia.
How far away is that?
About 8 hours, I think.
Yeah, I flew from BWI, so I didn't actually drive. Did you drive or fly?
We flew.
Oh, yes, smart man. Okay, Katie, how old are you? Where are you coming from?
I'm 20, and I'm Kristen's sister, and I live in Hollis as well, so only a half hour away from here.
Awesome. Siblings. I had siblings yesterday,
Oh.
so it was awesome. Okay, so great. You guys here are at Camp Constitution. How long have you been coming here? Katie, how long have you been coming here?
Since 2009, so yeah, a while.
So did
Every
you
year,
start
yeah.
off as a camper?
Yeah, I was, I think, 15 or something around that, or 14, so yeah, camper.
What about you, Brad? How long have you been coming?
Since 2009. Well, every year except one.
And you started off as a camper too?
Yes,
Kristen,
started
you
off as a
started coming then too?
Yep.
So guys, tell me, why do you keep coming back? Go ahead, it's all right. Just jump in, whatever.
I just like being around people with the same values and political mindset, and it's just good to be around folks who are similar to me.
So you have to drive 8 hours out of Richmond, Virginia to find people that are like you're minded with you? Is that what you're telling me?
Well, for a large gathering of them, yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. So tell me, guys, what is it like in the 20-something community right now? I mean, are you standing alone? Do you have a large crowd? I mean, obviously not. If Brad has to drive 8 hours to find constitutionally minded people. What is your biggest challenge in the 20-something with the way you believe? Do they people, the tinfoil hat, they look at you like, oh, there's that conspiracy guy. You know, how does that work for you guys? Go ahead and tell us, Katie.
It sort of is like that, but I feel like a lot of people our age actually agree with us more than they even know. You'll be talking with them, and then they realize, and then they're like, oh, actually, I do agree. Maybe not in everything, but I think in general they're more libertarian than they ever have been before.
You know, I believe that the NSA spying on our emails and cell phones did a lot to wake up your generation of people. Because, you know, I don't mean this in an insulting way. It's not been long since you've been teenagers. You hated the idea that your parents were going to be reading your emails and all that stuff. And you certainly don't want the government to do that too, right? So you thought, okay, I'm not a teenager anymore. I'm not living under my parents. Now I have freedom. Wait a minute. Oops. Now the government is my big daddy, right? So tell me, Brad, what is it, you know, that is your biggest challenge, you think, with your peers?
Probably just getting them to agree with me. I guess the people that I've run into a lot tend to be liberal. So
what you said, getting them to agree with you. What is the biggest point of disagreement that you think you have?
Probably the size of government and you know their limits to their power. So a lot of them think that they should, I guess, have more control over our lives.
Well, probably because they want them to fix the problems, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Right. So we don't want to have to do that ourselves. Why would we have to do that? The government's there for us.
Yeah, they don't want to do any work.
Let me ask you something. Where do you guys go to school?
I go to Virginia Commonwealth University.
Uh-huh. And where did you go to high school?
I went to L.C. Byrd High School, a public high school.
A public high school? Okay. And you guys?
We actually both go to the same college in Worcester, Massachusetts. It's Assumption College. It's a private, small college. And we were both homeschooled before
Oh, so you guys are part of the terrorist group too then, right? Okay, awesome. All right. So knowing, were you constitutionally minded, Brad, when you were in your public school, in high school as well?
Yeah, I come from a very constitutional-minded family.
Was that difficult in high school?
At times, yeah.
Did you find yourself in contention with your teachers?
Definitely. I had to wade through a lot of liberals. So
Yeah? You didn't step down and back down, did you?
Nope, not at all.
You're my hero. That is so awesome. You know, we homeschool my son, and I want him to be raised that way. But I also want him to have the boldness of Brad. And sometimes our homeschool students, even though they know the truth, they don't have the boldness to stand because they've never been tested. And so, you know, I admire Brad for being in the front lines, even as a teenager, you know, even in high school. So you've got an advantage. Now you're in college. You've got a bigger boldness. So, Kristen, what do you think your biggest challenge is with your peers?
I mean, I would definitely agree with Brad, where a lot of students, they were kind of woken up by the whole NSA thing, and they don't like that. But at the same time, I don't think they understand that the government can't take care of everyone, and you can still have freedom. So getting them to understand that balance, I think.
You know, do you guys find this a bit ironic? I mean, generally speaking, society, culturally speaking, the 20-something age group is you're bursting out of your parents' control. You know, the biggest thing that I saw in college was this newfound freedom and people losing their minds. You know, they go partying, they do all this crazy stuff because now they're not governed. But isn't it ironic that in that same mindset, they're embracing the idea that the government should take care of them too? You would think, and maybe that's where the libertarian part comes in, because they're sort of realizing, hey, maybe I don't need to be taken care of by the government. See, that is the thing that maybe you guys can embrace upon here, is relate to their libertarian side. Say, look, you know, how about I call your dad and have your dad come over here and take care of you? Is that okay? If that's not okay, why not? Why is that okay for the government, right? So what did you, as camp counselors, what do you hope to do here?
Well, I guess it's good just showing the kids that you can go on past just being like a 14-year-old camper to becoming a 20-something-year-old counselor or being out in college in the real world and still continuing the stuff that they're doing right now. So I guess it's just showing that connection between like childhood and adulthood, that you can still do a lot of stuff in this kind of movement.
What about you guys? Anything to add to that?
Well, I like to see the campers grow in confidence in their knowledge of, the government and the Constitution. So try and, push them a little forward to be more well-spoken.
You guys should start some kind of a debate group here. Have a session with debate training, or have a session where they get up and give political speeches, or hold a mock legislation one time. That would be really good, because you are the new foundation, and you guys could be teaching them that. And in order to teach them, you have to learn it, because you have to be a master at what you teach in order to teach it. And then you guys, I mean, this is awesome. You guys get to come here as counselors and still learn just like they do. You have different speakers all the time, right?
Yeah.
So what do you hope to take away from here? You want to give to the students, but what do you hope to take away as counselors?
I mean, definitely, I think we're all in college and even just in the workplace and every area of your life, it's great to keep building the knowledge.
Ammunition, right?
Exactly, yeah, and keep building on that foundation, and just kind of taking it home, and it's a great refresher, even if it's stuff you already know.
So do you guys have groups on your college campuses that you're part of?
Yeah, well, Chris and I actually started, there's the group Young Americans for Liberty, and that's a nationwide organization that was started from the Ron Paul campaign in 2008. So we've started our own chapter at our school. Our school's already pretty small. It's only 2,000 students. So it's sort of difficult finding that fraction of people who are interested in what we're going for. But that organization itself is really huge. They have like a yearly convention in D.C. with hundreds of activists that are all around our age. So that's cool.
Can I raise my hand? Because I want to come speak to your group.
Yeah.
I absolutely do. I want to come speak to your group. And you know what we can do is we can schedule a time for me to come and speak, and you can advertise it as a challenge to the rest of the students. Yeah. Come and challenge this woman, right? Come and hear what she has to say, and then show her where she's wrong. I love that kind of challenge. Don't ever shy away from a debate. The debates that you think you're going to lose are the best debates to get into, because even if you lose the debate, you learn so much from that. And I guarantee you won't lose because you're wrong. You may lose because you weren't prepared for the questions and how to answer them. But next time you will be, because this is all about a battle. It's all about training. It's all awesome. So do you have any groups, Brad?
Yeah, they're the Young American for Liberty group. They're on my campus. Unfortunately, I'm really tight on time back at home, so I haven't had the chance to meet up with them. But I definitely let my views be known on campus and in the classroom when we're talking about political issues.
You guys might be the only bit of truth that your classmates get to hear by challenging what they have been taught and giving your professors the benefit of the doubt. They don't know any better. They've been raised up in a system that has taught them nothing else. And the problem with many of our professors is they think they know everything. And they've forgotten to be excellent teachers, you must remain students. And they're unwilling to learn. So for this year, because this is only the third day, right? Second or third day?
Yes.
Yeah. So what exactly have you gotten anything out of this so far? What have you learned so far?
Well, at this camp, not yet, because I'm part of the newspaper, so I've been writing that.
Okay.
So I haven't been able to attend any classes, but I do know I was looking at some for tomorrow and the day after that
awesome.
I'll be able to get into. But I'm hoping to watch some of the evening classes that we have too tonight, so definitely be there for that.
All right. Well, hold on for just a second. We're going to go to a break, and then we're going to come back, and we're going to hear from Kristen and Brad, see if they've learned anything so far. Katie, you are carrying on the spirit of Mercy Otis Warren, and you don't even know it. I'll teach you about her when we come back.
The KrisAnne Hall Show. She's Liberty's lobbyist.
So welcome back to the KrisAnne Hall Show. I have three very intelligent, articulate, and beautiful, and one handsome guest here today. Our young people here at Camp Constitution in Rindge, New Hampshire. And I was talking to Katie about Mercy Otis Warren. Mercy Otis Warren, you need to learn about her. She is the first American woman poet playwright, and she is the first American woman historian. She lived through the Revolutionary War. She was a great confidant and gave great advice to many of the men in the Revolution. She wrote a history book about the American Revolution, and she wrote newspaper articles and plays to bring to truth to the people of the colonies the tyranny of the government of Great Britain. And so she is my hero. I absolutely love her. So to know you're on the newspaper, just think Mercy Otis Warren. So Brad and Kurt and Kristen, have you guys learned anything so far this week? Something that's already ringing a bell with you? Have you been in any classes?
Unfortunately, no. We haven't been able to sit in on any classes.
But more on the administrative side so far.
See, this is what happens when the talk show host doesn't do her work ahead of time. She asks questions that have no answers, right? Okay. So you're going to be able to sit through some of the classes, right? And all of these classes are videotaped, so you can go back and watch them on YouTube.
Exactly.
So what are you seeing? What is your most rewarding thing about being here this week? Let me change that question, because we only have a few minutes left. If you could say one thing to your 20-somethings, one important thing that you think if they just got that one thing, everything would be okay, what would that be? We'll start with you, Kristen.
Well, I guess I would say, don't be afraid to ask questions. Question what you're learning in school even. Research things yourself, and just don't be afraid to get out there. And
question authority.
Right.
I always tell people, don't believe anything I tell you. I'm standing in front of you teaching you. Don't you dare believe anything that I tell you. You test and research everything that I say. What about you, Brad? What would you say if you had one dying word to give to them that would you think if they could just get it and turn it all around?
Just do your own research. I think a lot of the kids these days, they don't trust really anything the government says or like from the media, but yet they'll still go back to, I guess, wanting more government. So just do your own research and, just do your own research.
It's a boldness there, right? Don't be afraid to stand up to your professors. What is a grade? What is a grade if they're selling slavery and they're selling ignorance? We had a class this morning teaching about the women of the Revolution, and we have been taught for so long that the women during a revolutionary period were weak and irrelevant, to the point that our daughters and our sons don't even want to know about the women. They think, why would I research them? But they were so important, so very important, and we lose out of things. We have the first man to die in the Revolutionary War was a black man named Crispus Attucks. There were battalions of freed slaves who fought in our Revolutionary War, and we dishonor them every day without teaching their history. And that's what we need to do. We need to challenge these things. And what about you, Katie? If you could say something, what would you say?
Okay, well, definitely similar to what they're saying, but in your research, it's really good to follow the money to see who's benefiting by these laws and these things that get passed through, and then you start sort of seeing connections and usually.
You have been studying under Ron Paul for a while, haven't you? Okay, I can hear that. My friend Judy is listening now, going, "Amen, sister, amen," and the Fed and all of that stuff. So no, that's awesome. So you're definitely part of the Young Americans for Liberty, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, great. Awesome. So you guys are going to go back to your campuses this next semester supercharged, right?
Exactly.
Supercharged. And you're going to remember KrisAnne Hall, because you're going to have me come teach on your campuses. You guys, I don't mean to be all heavy and stuff, but you guys are the future. I mean, my generation, and the generations that immediately before me have done you a very great disservice. We have handed over servitude to you. We have handed you a debt that enslaves you. We've handed you a government that enslaves you. And I'm sorry. So on behalf of my generation, just let me apologize to you. But we're counting on you guys. We really, really are, to carry liberty for our children. So I want to thank you guys for coming. It was fun. It was fun. God bless you guys. Hey, here you have it. The young people going to take up the mantle for us. God bless. See you tomorrow.